Big figures today on international students and how reliant universities are on them in terms of overall revenue. We're talking, some of the biggest universities in the country, 60% plus. Reducing flows of those has consequences, doesn't it? What's your message to unis worried about what changes Labor could be making here?
Well, international students are an incredibly important part of our university life and our economy. They make a real contribution in that respect. And it is important that we have policies that are put in place to make that sector sustainable in the long term. That's why the legislation being put forward by the Minister for Education, Jason Clare, is about setting an allocation for the maximum number of new international students and their enrolments insofar as what education providers can provide. And that really is designed to strengthen the integrity of the system and the quality of the international education system, Tom. And so if universities want to enrol international students, they're going to have, above that limit, they're going to have to establish new purpose-built accommodation, student accommodation, because there is obviously, as we know, a housing crisis. And that's an important part of this legislation for them to take some of that responsibility and lift that load that we're all feeling across the community.
It's interesting, though. I mean, how do you measure whether actually more houses are being created? Because you're telling universities to build them, but who's to say that just doesn't take up, the people out there who are building houses instead of building private ones for other people or whatever it might be on new projects, they're building them for universities. How do you actually make sure that's new supply in the market?
I'm not sure, your question's a bit confusing in the sense that, are you saying that there shouldn't be an instruction there or imperative for the universities to take some responsibility? Because I think that's an important part of this legislation.
No, it's more along the fact this is I'll clarify it if you'd like. It's more along the fact this is a soft cap. Unis can still go above that number of students if they build the accommodation. But the question is, we're being told right now there's only so many places because of the lack of skills in Australia. There's only so many houses we can build anyway over the next few years. You'll just shift them from homes that the private sector would build for private sale to homes that the university sector will build, and not necessarily create more homes.
With all due respect, Tom, I think you're making a simplistic either-or kind of calculus there. What we are doing is we are committed to increasing supply. Yes, there are issues around building materials and also the workforce for that. That's why there are changes to the immigration visas around construction workers, which is helping with getting more people in to do the construction work. We've invested $6.5 billion just in the last budget for new housing, but overall $32 billion in 2 years, because it is about supply, supply, supply. So it's not an either or. It's not a question of the university.
No, but it's not me saying this, Peter. It's experts saying we'll be flat out building what Labor's talking about anyway, and that was before this announcement saying uni should build more as well. So it's not actually my view I'm putting. It's people in this industry saying we're already flat chat.
We need to build and build more housing because there is a housing crisis. There's an affordability crisis, and the crux of that is supply. So if that means we've invested $32 billion into this, if that means more housing, more building, more construction workers coming in, I'm all for it.
The Greens say they wouldn't repeat that they support a two-state solution, just that it was a long way away now. Is that becoming a fair enough response? I mean, does anyone think there's any progress at all on the horizon for a two-state solution?
Well, I'm a bit flummoxed by this, Tom, because a two-state solution is really the only way that you're going to achieve an end to the sort of endless cycle of violence and war in that region and achieve a lasting peace. It's been long-standing bipartisan policy for decades, and frankly, I'm not trying to understand here. If it's not a two-state solution, what is Adam Bent advocating for? What is he and his party advocating for? What exactly is it they stand for? I think that's a really important question because, I'm concerned. I'm actually concerned, Tom, about social cohesion in this country. Political leaders, members of Parliament have a responsibility as public figures. What we say and what we do actually matters. And then you've got this situation where we're trying to protect our multicultural society, and you've got the Greens lighting a match and throwing it into the bush and watching the fire burn, fomenting that kind of disruption to social cohesion. That needs to be called out. They need to actually stand for something and explain what it is they advocate for.